too. You hear that clock ticking on this Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay Packers situation. The saga continues. Rodgers has told people within the organization he wants out. The Packers say they aren't letting him go for now. Former Packers head coach Mike Holmgren was gone when they drafted Rodgers, but did weigh in on how he'd handle this situation.
And a star quarterback like that getting to this point, I just can't imagine it. I wouldn't allow it. It wouldn't happen. But now it has happened, and I would call him in. We'd sit down and not leave until we kind of had an understanding one way or the other, and either he's going to continue playing, or you'd have to, or the ball's in his court, because I want him there. I need him there. I love him. Now, what are you going to do? Well, they didn't handle it very well, I don't think. I don't know how you guys looked at it, but they didn't handle it very well.
Well, Holmgren makes it seem like maybe he's got this whole thing figured out. Jeff, you were former teammates with Aaron Rodgers. How do you think the Packers fix this?
Exactly like Holmgren's saying. Listen, I've been preaching the same thing Mike is saying. This is on the Packers. They have screwed this up from the beginning and continue to allow this thing to fester, which is negative all the way. Bring him back to your building, or all of you go out together. GM, everybody, head coach, whoever you need to take out there, bring him out there, sit down, and get this thing settled. Aaron, what do we need to do to show you we believe in you? We want you as our quarterback. What kind of extension do you need? What can we do to get this relationship repaired? Because at the end of the day, this is 100% a relationship issue. And I don't care what any fan says about whether you're on the side of the Packers or on the side of Aaron Rodgers. These guys got to work together every day. They got to be in meetings every day. You have to get this settled, and it's on the Packers to get it settled because they handled it poorly from the beginning. Get this thing fixed. Get him signed to an extension. Should be the easiest extension in the NFL, and get the deal done.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, I realize I'm asking you to have a little bit of a crystal ball here, but do you think that this thing can be repaired, or in your mind, knowing Aaron Rodgers, it's beyond repair?
No, I do think it can be repaired. I think that's a great question. Everybody keeps saying, well, you got to fire the GM. I really don't think you have to get there. I think ultimately this needs to be all the powers to be get in one room, and let's clear the air, and let's apologize for things that we know we messed up, and let's own them, and let's be transparent about moving forward. Listen, I'm a sinner. I'm a nobody on an offensive line with the Indianapolis Colts. My coach and GM told me every time before they were going to draft a center or a guard who could potentially play center, just as a heads up, hey man, you're going to be competing. These guys are good. That's the business. We understand it, but don't walk me down and surprise me and then expect me to have this great feeling about you after I go and play as an MVP. Just be clear, be transparent. That's where the miss has been. They can clear it up, but they got to take the ball and go make this thing happen with Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it all really does seem to go back to the 2020 draft and taking Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers not knowing about that. How about this? Our own Bill Barnwell put together some potential trade offers for Aaron Rodgers if it does happen. Here's a look at what he thinks it would take to get the MVP in Vegas with the Raiders. He has the Packers trading Rodgers and a 2023 fourth-round pick to the Raiders in exchange for Derek Carr, first and second round picks in 2022, and a first-round pick in 2023. So it's a pretty big haul there either way. Field, are the Raiders a realistic option?
Well, first of all, Laura, no one's better at hypothetical trades at ESPN than Bill Barnwell. He does such great columns centered around potential trades. But if you look at one of the criteria that I think you have to examine is that in a perfect world, if the Packers are forced to trade Aaron Rodgers, you can cut out half the league. They don't want him to go to an NFC team where they could see him potentially every single year, whether it's in the regular season or during their path to the Super Bowl. So you go to the AFC, and then you kind of do a game of, is the team married to their quarterback or dating their quarterback? And even some of the teams that are married to their quarterback based off where that player was drafted still might trade for Aaron Rodgers. But the Raiders, we know, are unequivocally dating Derek Carr, who is, by the way, an underappreciated quarterback. That being said, if you look at where he's out of this contract, 2 years left, no more guaranteed money. It's not some sort of major insult to say that the Raiders would be upgrading from Derek Carr to Aaron Rodgers. And the only thing I would maybe adjust on that proposal is I don't think the Packers have any use for Derek Carr. Let's not forget that while the pick was incredibly controversial, there's a ton of internal belief in Jordan Love in Green Bay. So the Packers may say, give us another draft pick. But I think the Raiders make sense. They check some of the boxes you need to check to actually make a deal come to life.
Let me just say this. I'd get my popcorn out. I want front row seats to Gruden, Rodgers together. Just let me see that for just a short amount of time.
Yeah. Just the visuals, the sounds, all the things. It's hard to even fathom. Mina, does this make sense for Rodgers to go to Vegas? Because you got to think about it from his perspective, too. He's got to have at least some say in where he wants to go, or he wouldn't be even making this play of saying he doesn't want to stay with the Packers.
Well, Laura, it depends what we're talking about. Off the field, sure. If Rodgers wants to live on the West Coast and wants to be close to Los Angeles, I guess so. But from a football perspective, for Aaron Rodgers, this makes about as much sense as Jeff Saturday describing himself as some random offensive lineman
Yeah, what was he talking about?
Not having the career that he did in the NFL. A little ridiculous. Look, the Raiders, like many teams in the league, frankly, would be a downgrade for Rodgers. Not just because of, losing Devontae Adams, one of the best, if not the best wide receivers in the NFL. The Raiders don't have anyone close to that. The Packers have a better running back room, although I do like Josh Jacobs. But most importantly, to continue the theme of today's show, the Packers have one of the best offensive lines in the league. The Raiders just jettisoned 3 out of 5 starting linemen. They drafted a rookie in Alex Leatherwood. Aaron Rodgers in his late 30s does not, at least I would think, does not want to play behind that offensive line. And that's what he would be giving up leaving Green Bay. That matters the most to me is the level of protection he had.
Yeah, just a reminder, Jeff Saturday, all-pro offensive lineman. So we don't want to hear any of that nonsense out of you, Jeff, trying to downplay yourself. Not acceptable on this show. All right, coming up, the Patriots made improving the defense a priority this offseason, and that continued into the draft. Mina explains how the defense could provide a bigger impact than even a potential new quarterback. Stick around for that. And here's what we did this week. It was a really fun week after the draft. Watch this. Dan is a guy, if you don't know, he's a bland guy.
I'm not a bland guy, Ruddy. It's probably not good. Look good as fuck.
He went full GameStop on them. To the moon.
You have to be watching the market and also be a football fan. This show is for you.
No cap. Okay, Dan.
Everybody and their mom knows they got jumped for a quarterback. Can't say they had the best draft.
We just found out we could win him on the sneakers
I have
app.
no idea what you're talking about.
It's okay, Dan. Just stick with no cap. You got one for the day. You 1-0.
Me don't want to take the man up there with all that damn altitude.
And just like that, Zach Wilson has the expectations of an entire franchise on his shoulders. Maybe, just maybe, the Jets finally have their guy. Coming later, someone on the show will tell you what's realistic in 2021 for this Jets team. Find out if it's good or bad. We welcome you to NFL Live, everybody. Mina Kimes, Jeff Saturday. We got Field Yates. Also, draft analyst Matt Miller joins us, too. And it was just 8 days ago that former BYU quarterback Zach Wilson took the stage as the second overall pick in the NFL draft. Hi, guys. Now he's already in minicamp as an NFL quarterback. Life comes at you fast. Wilson making his on-field debut. You see him right there today at the start of this 3-day rookie minicamp. About 30 rookies present, including the 10 draft picks by the Jets. Excitement, hope in the air for Jets fans and for these rookies, too. Here's what Elijah Moore, one of Wilson's new targets, had to say about the quarterback.
Man, he had, wrote me on social media, say he was pumped, and he had texted me, say how fired up he was. And just talking to him on the phone, I could tell he's like a general, and just by what he was saying. And, he's just super excited to be here as well. His passion comes out through the phone. So for one, I'm ready to put this helmet on, and then I'm ready just to watch him look pretty throwing me balls.
It does look pretty. New head coach Robert Saleh and quarterback Zach Wilson have their work cut out for them. They're looking to turn around a franchise that hasn't reached the playoffs since 2010. That's not only the longest active drought in the NFL, it's twice as long as the next closest team. Come on, Jets. All right, Mina, what's the biggest challenge for Wilson transitioning to the NFL?
Pressure, Laura. Not just the pressure that he'll face as the quarterback of the New York Jets, which comes with more pressure than some other markets, but pressure on the field. We talked a lot before the draft about the advantageous situation Zach Wilson was in at BYU, playing behind a dominant offensive line. And we talked about how undominant, to put it kindly, the Jets' offensive line has been, but that's going to be the biggest challenge for him going forward. Now, fortunately for Zach, the Jets have made a couple of changes that should help him on that front. One, the offensive line is improving. Mekhi Becton, the draft pick last year, left tackle, was phenomenal. They traded up for Ollie Vera-Tucker to anchor that side of the line. And also schematically, there are a lot of things that new offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur is going to do to make Zach's life a little bit easier. The assumption is the offense will look like what we saw in San Francisco, the wide zone rushing attack with a lot of play action. That's also what we saw a lot of at BYU, and it makes the quarterback's life simpler. He's not going to be a sitting duck back there the way Sam Darnold occasionally was. But even with that help, it's still going to be a tough transition for him going from BYU to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better. When you start talking about pressure and talking about offensive linemen protecting the number 2 pick and how important that is, you are speaking my language, girl. Like, you could not be preaching more to the choir. But I'll even add to the pressure of learning the playbook. Listen, it's like drinking water from my fire hose. When you are all of a sudden the guy in New York for the Jets, they just traded away Sam Darnold, who was their darling 2 or 3 years ago, and now all of a sudden it's all coming at you. This is going to be a fast transition, and LaFleur can simplify the playbook, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many plays you have. When defense is disguised and pressure can get on you, decisions have to be made extremely quickly. I think that's going to be the biggest transition from him from BYU because of the talent level that's going from who he played against to what he's going to play against in the NFL is going to be completely different. It's just going to take time for him to adjust to that.
Yeah, Wilson told me at the draft he feels like his versatility and just his skill set overall is excited to bring to this Jets offense. And Field, it's kind of hard to talk about Wilson without thinking about Sam Darnold. And I don't know if that's fair to either side, but it's just the reality of this whole situation. So why can this time be different for the Jets and with their new quarterback in Zach Wilson?
Yeah, Laura, you're right. There are 2 comparisons we're going to make perpetually for the next 5 years or so. Zach Wilson versus the rest of the quarterbacks drafted in the first round this year. And then Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold, the man that he is replacing in New York. I think back to the Jets' 2018 regular season opener. It was a Monday Night Football game on ESPN. And Sam Darnold went out there with an offense that included several aging or veteran offensive linemen that were past their prime. There really wasn't a guy that you would consider a blue chip player during the 2018 season around Sam Darnold. The best wide receiver that year, Robbie Anderson, had 752 receiving yards. Not exactly the kind of production you want from your top pass catcher. This year, as Mina alluded to, you've got a left side of the line that now includes Mekhi Becton, a bona fide stud, and Ollie Vera-Tucker, a projected stud. Context matters, and for the first time in a long time, the Jets seem to be aligned in their timeline. Everybody understands this is a fresh start, a lot to look forward to in New York.
Yeah, so Field, give us a tangible blueprint to follow here. What other team should the Jets say, hey, that worked, let's do that?
Yeah, the Jets would just look north in the division in terms of the standings, and also, I guess, geographically, the Buffalo Bills, who back a few years ago made a pick in Josh Allen and moved up from 12 to 7 in the 2018 NFL Draft, a pick that was panned by some because of Josh Allen's accuracy issues during his time at Wyoming. And there were some bumps in the road early. Josh Allen did not fire out of the gates as this Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert type success story. The Bills made it to the playoffs early in his career, but even in the playoffs, the play that everybody remembers is him lateraling the ball in a very YOLO-type effort against the Houston Texans. The Bills have stood by Josh Allen. They've given him pass catchers. They've given him great coaches. And, of course, Josh Allen has put in the work. That's what the Jets should be trying to mimic this time around with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I think the Bills are a really good model, frankly, for a lot of teams when it comes to roster construction. But I'll also throw out the Browns, and not just because there are aspects of Zach Wilson's game that actually remind me a little bit of Baker Mayfield, but also because this is a team that, you know, with Baker, went through several iterations, made mistakes along the way, and then settled on a formula last season that really worked. one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. The Jets, of course, don't have that kind of talent yet, but also a very similar scheme to what I just described, what I think we all project Mike LaFleur to do. It's not unlike what Kevin Stefanski did when he came to Cleveland and brought from Minnesota, and this is all part of the same coaching tree. Play action, wide zone, rolling him out and moving the pocket, giving him easier reads. Those are all things that should make Zach Wilson's first year in the NFL a lot easier than it has to be.
Jeff, I saw you waving your hand. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think when I hear both of them, I can just tell you from a guy in the locker room is patience. I mean, both Mina and Field are giving you two great examples of organizations that were patient. I think the one thing, whether you like Sam Darnold or dislike him, you like Wilson or dislike him, at the end of the day, these organizations have to understand it's going to take time. Stefanski had the gift of 2 years of watching, his quarterback Mayfield go up, go down, and now he's kind of leveled off. It's going to require the same thing. Allen's ascension. All of that takes time. I think back to Peyton Manning. My second year, he went from leading the league in interceptions, setting a rookie record that may still be set, I have no idea, to going 13-3 his second year. Be patient. It takes time to get together as an organization. This guy can be good, but you got to give him time.
All right, you never know what's going to happen on NFL Live, but early odds on the show so far today, if you wave your hand, you might get in. Just have to see how that ends up playing out. All right, we're just getting started with Aaron Rodgers wanting out of Green Bay. We'll explore one potential trade destination that could be a huge gamble for the 2020 MVP. Emphasis on the word gamble. We'll tell you why. From free agency to the draft, O-linemen have been the center of attention. Coming up, our center, Jeff Saturday, ranks the 3 biggest O-line upgrades. Spoiler alert, Patrick Mahomes has a lot to look forward to. We'll be right back. Him up, but he gets to 7, and they also signed center Frank Ragnow to a 4-year extension, making him the highest paid center in the league. Lions quarterback Jared Goff had this to say about the guys protecting him.
Yeah, fired up. When I saw we took Panay, I know the staff was fired up, and so was I, obviously, as a quarterback. Anytime you get help up front, that's always good. But yeah, we got a lot of solid guys up there right now, and I think it's shaping up to hopefully be one of the top groups in the league. There's obviously a lot of work to do, and I know they know that, but there's a lot of good players up there right now, and as a quarterback, that's your best friend, so I'm excited for it.
All right, so Jared Goff thinks his O-line is the best. We've got our offensive lineman here, though, and Jeff Saturday. We figured we'd ask you about the most improved O-lines now that the draft is over and free agency. So, Jeff, take us through it, starting with the 3rd most improved.
Yeah, let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. And listen, I really like what this group did. Obviously, Ronnie Stanley's coming back from an ankle injury that took him out. One of the best left tackles in the game. They drafted Big Ben Cleveland out of the University of Georgia. This guy is an absolute mauler, so he'll fit in extremely well with what they want to do. Zeitler's coming in. So when I think of this group and what they want to do, they want to be physical. They want to be nasty. They want to play downhill. They want to open holes, continue blocks, play through the echo of the whistle. All of these guys line up perfectly for the Ravens offense. I like what they put together here. I like the attitude, and I think, again, Stanley will be that anchor for what they're looking for out of there. Number 2 is the Los Angeles Chargers. And listen, I'm going to start here with Corey Linsley. This guy came over from Green Bay. This guy is a master craftsman at pass blocking, but he's even more than that. He's a very intelligent football player that gets guys in the right place. And then you talk about Slater, who they drafted out of Northwestern. Penei Sewell, we just heard about him with the Detroit Lions. This guy, in my opinion, is right at Slater and Penei Sewell were right together, in my opinion. I think this offensive line revamped all the way inside. This is a group to be reckoned with, and with Justin Herbert, it's a fantastic setup. Finally, the Kansas City Chiefs. Wow. Veach, their general manager, he did a fantastic job. Got Orlando Brown Jr. over from the Baltimore Ravens to put him at left tackle where he wanted to be. Thuney's coming over from New England. Might be one of the top 2 or 3 left sides in the NFL already if these guys can stay healthy. You have Blythe, who came over from the Rams. But honestly, when you look at their draft picks, I mean, you're talking about Creed Humphreys coming in from Oklahoma. This kid could push. Kyle Long coming in. He could push at guard. What do you have there? You have depth that can solidify this offensive line. The Chiefs saw what happened in the Super Bowl. They don't want to let that happen again. They want 7-8 deep at that offensive line. They went out and did a great job of solidifying that offensive line.
Yeah, Jeff, this is your kind of show today. We've been so nitty-gritty with the line of scrimmage. I like it. Let's go back to the Chargers, because they're a really interesting team to me when you talk about some of these teams that have improved a lot. And, Mina, it's not just the O-line, right? Based on their offseason additions, how legit you think the Chargers can be in 2021?
Look, I'm not going to pick any team. Forget about a team in the AFC West to surpass the Chiefs in the conference because they still got 15. But the Chargers are right in the mix, in my mind, with the Bills, the Browns, and the Ravens as far as contenders go. We already know that defense is good. They've got a ton of talent there with Bosa, obviously Derwin James coming back from injury. But on offense, it really does all start with the offensive line. As Jeff laid out, this is a team that went into this offseason, Laura, with a very clear need. They need to do a better job protecting Justin Herbert. Last season, that offensive line finished 31st in the NFL on ESPN's pass block win rate, which measures how long offensive linemen hold their blocks, or if they hold them for more than 2.5 seconds. To go out and get not just a good center, one of the best centers in the NFL, in Corey Linsley. You gotta hope Brian Bulaga is healthier this year, and then have Rashawn Slater fall into their lap. It's unreal because Justin Herbert was the offensive rookie of the year with bad offensive line play. He was tremendous under pressure. Now, this year, he's going to have it easier. I mean, think about what's possible with this young quarterback and this football team, which has great skill players. I'm really excited for Los Angeles.
Yeah, we looked at each other when Rashawn Slater fell to them. We're like, okay, wow, what a pickup. Jeff, what do you think? Is this a Chargers team that could potentially catch the Chiefs? When you had the Chiefs as your most improved offensive line, but when you think about what the Chargers have done, where's your head at?
Yeah, these two they're neck and neck in a race, right? But I'm with Mina. I listen, the biggest issue for me for the Chargers the last couple of years has not been the roster build out. I think Tom Telesco's done a fantastic job of acquiring players. It's injuries. And Mina and I talked about this earlier during our meeting, but when you think about the Chargers and how many impact players they have lost to injury, it's just mind-boggling. That, to me, is going to be the key. If they want to have any chance to push the Chiefs, they're going to have to stay healthy. They're going to have to stay together and united, and that means consistency of play. Without injury, with injuries, they have no chance. But staying healthy, they could end up pushing. I don't think they overtake the Chiefs this year, but they can definitely make a push at them.
Yeah, one final point on those Chiefs. I think we all remember this. Mahomes pressured 29 times in Super Bowl 55. That's the most in Super Bowl history. All you can think about when you think about that game, other than Tom Brady and the Bucs winning it, is what that defense did to Mahomes. But that'll be a different story next year with this O-line. All right, so we told you it's a big day for rookie camp for the Jets. Zach Wilson, the second overall pick, and the new quarterback, the hopes and dreams of Jets fans on his shoulder, out there for the first time on the field. So he gets an opportunity to show what he's all about, as the other rookies, actually about 30 of them there today, including the 10 draft picks. We welcome in our ESPN draft analyst, Matt Miller, talking rookie mini camps. There are a couple more that started today. So, Matt, who do you have your eye on?
Yeah, Laura, a lot to watch today. It's just good to see football again, especially the quarterbacks out there in the red jerseys. So with the New York Jets, yes, all eyes are going to be on Zach Wilson. He's the quarterback. They get all the attention. But how about Elijah Moore, who was picked at the top of the second round? I think he is as integral to their offense and what they want to do under Matt LaFleur, as anyone that they drafted this year. Elijah's speed down the field, what he does after the catch, he's going to give them that toughness, that swagger, and the electricity to open up the field with Zach Wilson's big arm. So keep an eye on the smaller wide receiver, Elijah Moore, for the New York Jets.
With the second pick, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson.
Turns out Zach Wilson not missing out on anything today. He, of course, is at the 3-day rookie mini camp for the Jets. Starting today. It's the first time we get to see him out there on the field. That's the first look at him as you see him out there earlier today. Also on the field, a new head coach, and he had a little bit of an embarrassing moment that he admitted to. Listen to this.
We just had our bigs out there, and we were going through, and the horn blew for practice to be over, and I started to take my normal spot behind the huddle to listen to the head coach speak, and I was like, oh, shoot, that's me. So
Robert Saleh, that's one of my favorite stories anyone's told, because I feel like we could all relate to that. Like, oh, wait, it's my turn to talk. Sorry.
I love it.
I know. All right, I thought that was funnier than you guys did. Anyway, let's get ESPN Jets reporter Rich Cimini in here. Today was the first official workout for the new head coach, as well as his rookie QB, Zach Wilson. Rich, what did you see from the number 2 overall pick today?
Laura, what we saw from Zach Wilson today was really just a snapshot. It was limited exposure, only about an hour of a 2-hour practice. Robert Saleh explained it beforehand, said he wasn't trying to hide anything, just didn't want to expose the rookies to a full onslaught of media. He knew it would get a little sloppy. He wanted to create a low-pressure environment. I can tell you this, what we did see from Zach Wilson is what the Jets fell in love with when they were scouting him. You saw the velocity, the zip on some short passes, but there was no defense. He was throwing against air. Really, what I thought was most significant is what he's been doing the last few days, reaching out to his fellow rookies, introducing himself, getting acquainted with fellow offensive players. One of those guys is wide receiver Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss, and we asked him before practice what he was looking forward to most in his first practice with Zach Wilson. He said, I just want to sit back and watch him look pretty throwing me passes.
I love it. Thanks so much, Rich. Matt, what do you think is going to be the toughest part of the transition from college to the pros for Zach Wilson?
I think for all the talk about scheme or better defenses in the NFL, really the key will be him being the leader of this football team at such a young age and going from Draper, Utah to New York. That's going to be an adjustment in and of itself. But then also just being the face of the New York Jets, where the media pressure is intense. A lot of young quarterbacks have not done well in that situation. So I think that's the biggest adjustment. And it's great to hear from Rich that Zach already understands that he's reaching out to these young offensive players, that he's starting to build those relationships. That will carry over once the veterans get in there. But I think that will be the biggest adjustment. Going for BYU, where he was the guy for one season, now he has to be the face of the New York Jets.
I can say this. Listen, I've been on teams with young quarterbacks. He will be the guy. It will not be unlike BYU. Now, listen, the fans might not treat him like that, but everybody in that locker room will treat him that way. Everybody understands their success is linked to this young guy, right? Keep as much pressure off of him as you can so that all of you can flourish. If you let everything pile up, you'll have another Sam Darnold situation where you can blame it on one guy, but ultimately there's enough blame to go around the entire organization. So as I look at this, when you're talking about Wilson and what to expect, players will surround him and they will encourage this young man to be his absolute best. You have young offensive linemen who are all kind of coming together, young receivers. This thing is it's all budding together. So as I'm looking at this, I think he's in a perfect situation. He's not into a veteran-laden team. He's going to be young with the rest of them. All of them going to grow together. Everybody's got to encourage each other. Stay locked in. It's us versus the world mentality. I think Saleh will preach that, and I think that will benefit them as an organization.
Yeah, if you think about what the Jets have done around him already, they had a busy offseason on both sides of the ball. In free agency, they bolstered their D-line, signing Carl Lawson, Vinnie Curry, and Sheldon Rankins. They heavily focused on the offensive side of the ball in the draft, selecting Zach Wilson, of course, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Elijah Moore in the first 2 rounds. New York counting on both the guys you see there, and Wilson and Lawson, to have big impacts on the franchise's turnaround. So let's talk about that. What does this team actually mean? What are realistic expectations for the New York Jets next year?
Finishing last in the division. I hate to throw cold water on all of the enthusiasm, but let's be real about this roster and the reason they were in a position to take Zach Wilson in the first place. I love the additions they made. I love the draft. I love the coaching hires, but there's still questions all over this roster. We praised the offensive line improvement at the beginning of this show, but the entire right side of the line, question marks. The running back room, tight ends, question marks.
That's right.
Skill players they acquired, but we still don't know if any of them can be a true number 1 wide receiver. On defense, again, Quinnen Williams took a big leap forward. Love the Carl Lawson signing, but behind them, question marks at linebacker and a massive question mark, and I think it's probably the biggest one on the entire roster, at cornerback. Richard Sherman's still out there, but realistically, that is going to be a developing secondary, shall we say. So this year is not about contending. It's not about trying to win the East. It's about making sure Zach Wilson is comfortable and developing in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's why we all love Mina, because she'll just be the voice of reason and be like, let's remember, this is the fourth worst defense in the division, and they have a rookie quarterback and a first-time head coach. So let's not get carried away about the New York Jets just because Zach Wilson's there. And I agree. Like, it's an exciting story. It's good to see the Jets seemingly turning things around. They have some foundational pieces in place now, which you feel good about. They have a vision, but you're still dealing with Bill Belichick. You're still dealing with Josh Allen, and you're still dealing with Brian Flores, who won 10 games last year with the Miami Dolphins. So they still have a ways to go.
Yeah, this is why we love May. We love June. We love July, because everybody's got hope. No dreams have been crushed. Mina's trying to crush dreams in May as opposed to letting everybody love on the Jets. Everybody feels good about the Jets. We're dream killing in May. How about we just give them a little breath of air, let all their fans. This is the only time their fans can appreciate their team until August hits. Next thing you know, everybody's turned their back on them. It's just how it works, man. Mina, you crushed me today. I thought, we're going to finish strong. We're going to be happy. We're going to be good. No. Crushing dreams, Mina. Crushing dreams.
I'm a realist.
Yeah. Hey, Jets fans may thank her later for all these people who are pumping them up. They may be like, why did you guys tell us this was going to happen? All right, time for one more thing before we go. And speaking of the Jets' former quarterback, who is now with the Carolina Panthers, Sam Darnold's out here showing if he could be an artist. I got to tell you guys, this is on Twitter. I have watched this so many times. It makes me laugh every time because this man can't draw. Here he is drawing the Panthers logo. Mina, it sort of looked like a toucan. And then it looks like a ghost. I'm not sure what it is. So Mina actually replies with her own drawing. This is the actual Panthers logo, Mina, isn't it?
Yeah, it's much more intimidating than Sam Darnold's cat, but for some reason they didn't go with my suggestion. I don't know why. I think it's really beautiful.
Mina, this is the perfect picture and reflection of most guys at the gym. They keep missing leg day. Everything they're swollen up top.
It does taper down.
Missing leg day. I mean, that's the typical. That's my Gold's Gym prediction right there. Every time I walk in, no squat bars, all bench, all buys, all tries. Let's get swollen.
Hey, thanks to Matt Miller for joining us. Enjoy your summer, Matt. We're so glad to have had you.